Greetings, everybody, and welcome back to the Society of Main Characters. My name is David, and this evening we're going to be discussing another wonderful piece of literary work, The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by V.E. Schwab. And of course, I can't do this alone, so joining us this evening, we do have an illustrious panel of fellow readers, first of which, you know him, you kind of love him sometimes. He is a big fan and supporter of the Spinosauruses in the world, Mr. Keegan Cool.
No, David, not to throw shots, but I want to say thank you for giving us a breath of fresh air to just cleanse our palate after that last book. So much
That it,
appreciated.
that's true. For anyone who missed last episode, it was very interesting. Definitely a different book from what we've usually read. But hey, there was a Japanese wolf in it that really saved the day. So, interesting episode to catch up on. And for those of you who've already seen that episode, once again, we apologize formally as a channel for what you had to go through. But since we're on the topic of that book, let's bring up the man behind our forced march into Japan, experiencer of life, Nick Burgles.
David, thank you for having me on. I also want to say, Keegan, nice job not throwing shots when I wasn't able to respond. Wow. Oh,
I love that he did it when you were not on. Just to
yeah. I was like this SOB right here, just throwing shots when I'm not even able to respond. He's like not to throw shots at anybody, but there's somebody who's not here.
Hey, this made me want to go back into reading. I almost gave it up after our last one, but I was like, there is more.
I get it.
About Japanese world. So.
I get it.
Well, speaking of exotic animals, we do have one of our newer members to the society, the one and only caretaker and sometimes best friend of the Kansas kite monster, the Philadelphia fan in Kansas, Mr. Brendan.
Oh, I mean, it can't be that bad. He chose to go get the second book and read that one. So
that's true. I do have it on good authority that Keegan, you are well on your way to reading the sequel. So
I didn't choose. I bet because I did not think the Broncos would lose, and then they did what they always do, and they let me down.
Keegan, I think the lady doth protest too much.
I think he's just trying to make an excuse, and he really wanted to go read it and purposely chose the worst team.
He preemptively put a review up like if this does not contain the Japanese wolf, I will give this a 0 out of 10.
But it did, so he bumped that up to a 0.5.
No, I'm talking about Passage to Tokyo.
Oh, we all await with bated breath to see what he gives that wonderful piece of work. But speaking of bated breath, we do have one of our old friends, much missed. He has been absent from your screens and our hearts, Mr. Grayson.
Gentlemen, how are we this evening? David, thank you for the... Go ahead, sorry.
No, go, please.
I was going to say thank you for the very warm welcome and the very kind words for a welcome back. I did have to relearn how to read because reading just even the synopsis of the last book, it did cause me to lose my ability to read for a little bit. So I had to spend this last month practicing how to learn how to read. So thank you for the feedback. It was very entertaining. So,
I get it. Okay, I get it.
It unfortunately it did shock the literacy out of Grayson, and he's been in rehab for a couple months. That was especially difficult over the holidays. His family, was really pulling for him, but we put together a GoFundMe, and we were able to get him back to at least a high school level. So glad to have you back, Grayson.
Look, the boys really came through, and I appreciate all of you. And Keegan, don't act like you don't have a shrine to the last book built in your house. I've seen the pictures, Keegan. I've seen the tramp stamp tattoo.
Would now be
right there in the center.
Would now be a bad time to say that I also set up a separate, but also just keep backup plan to pull the plug?
I knew you would.
Just kidding.
Along those same lines.
One time I forgive you.
We don't want to go into details, but we are all still praying that Nolan pulls through with his current situation.
I was going to say, what, being constantly absent here? Was there something I'm not aware of?
I just thought that was so funny watching Grayson be like, "Wait, what?"
Is he actually like dying or like?
Let's just say he's having worse issues than literacy at the moment. But Nick has been cleared by the police and the legal process, so it's not being held against him. Right, Nick?
Yep, I'm not at liberty to discuss much more, but yeah.
Understandable. So instead of that, let's pivot, and we are going to discuss this piece of literature that we've read this past month, The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. A little different from our previous stuff, as I would say this is probably the first true and palatable romance that we've read, because I guess technically Gate could have been considered a romance, because nothing is sexier than a samurai whispering Bonnie Lass in your ear. Anyways,
I'm not buying that one.
Yeah, that one. Again, you can watch that last episode. We have plenty of talks on that. But yeah, if you guys are ready, I've got some questions lined up, and we'll just kind of dive in and talk about this. Sound good?
Yeah.
Fantastic. Now, Nick, if you could do me a favor, would you like to give everybody just a kind of quick, very, very brief summary of kind of what this book is about?
Yeah, very brief. All right. So, this woman, Addie LaRue, she is born in 1691 France, and in 1714, when she's like 23 years old, she makes a deal with a devil to gain immortality. But the immortality comes with a catch, to where everybody, the moment she is out of sight, forgets about her like that. And yeah.
And then basically it's about her life, and that's why it's called The Invisible Life, because as soon as she's basically out of sight of somebody, they completely don't remember that they ever talked to her, that they've ever seen her, correct?
Yes, that is true. And the modern day part of the story takes place 300 years after that fact.
Yeah, and you know what? We can actually start. That's a great question. Did you guys enjoy the way that this story was told, where it kind of does the flashbacks to the beginning of her situation, juxtaposed against her current modern day story of what was going on more like in today's world? Do you feel like it was an effective way to tell the story, or would you have possibly done it more in a chronological order, all the way through?
I like the non-linear style. The only thing I would say as it goes on, it feels like once we learn one of the plot points, it feels like the chapters kind of go faster and faster, which I guess makes sense. But at the beginning, I really liked the slow burn nature of just learning the world and learning the mythos behind what was happening, especially in the non-linear way, because then you learn maybe some of the reasons why she makes the choices in the modern day based off of previous experiences.
Absolutely. And just to be clear real quick, Chris, and just for anybody out there, this will be a spoiler chat. So if you do want to read this book, it definitely recommend you go check it out. But we will be talking about specific plot points and things. So just keep that in mind. It's been out for a couple of years, so hopefully anybody that wanted to read it has. And if you haven't, go pick it up. I think you could still enjoy it even if you hear the spoilers, but just throwing that out there. Yeah, go ahead, Grayson.
I was just going to say that I do think that the nonlinear story was definitely the best way to tell the story. Like, if you're not into it, broke up this the modern day and the actual love story throughout the book to where it was a little bit more palatable. Where like if you're sitting there the entire time with the same characters, it would definitely feel like it would be dragging on just a little bit. But I think with learning about her past, learning more, not having to go through it broke up the slog of having to develop a character and also make a romance in a way that is, believable and something that you can invest yourself in. So having those, separations between time periods was definitely interesting. Plus, I liked like the little cliffhangers where you'd like wait to get back to modern day and see what happens next.
Absolutely agree with that. What Grayson just said. It is nice because again, like Keegan mentioned, if you had it all going from start to finish in chronological order, it might drag on. It might just feel it might fall on deaf ears after a little while. But I mean, yeah, you get to see like one story in the past where like she is doing certain things, and then it jumps to the future, and you can kind of tell how the past has affected her, how her life up until the modern day has affected her, and like how it's changed how her mind thinks with it as well.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. Brendan, what about you? How did you feel about the structure of the story?
Usually I don't like the jumping around, but in this way I did, and it does, like previously stated. I was thinking, learn from your challenges and stuff, and take that how you are, in present day versus what your past challenges were.
And kind of like what kind of taught her to make the decisions that she did make in the future, kind of thing.
Yeah,
Yeah, I agree. I'm not usually a big fan either of the going back and forth. I'd rather like I'm okay if there's a flashback or two, but the constant altering, going back and forth, it can get kind of old in some books. But I think this did have that right kind of rhythm for it. Because if you did it chronologically, I feel like that would be a drastic kind of rewriting of the story where it wouldn't make any sense to only spend those little bit of times in those and then suddenly this huge chunk of it now. So I think it's definitely an important point that did the back and forth and kind of. I feel like we also skipped a couple decades as the time went on and stuff. You didn't really get a comprehensive map of her life. It was kind of like the highlights or where something kind of relevant happened. So I think that was good. It wasn't like a lot of filler.
Well, and also I think it helps break up what could have been more like repetitive moments because of her condition where it has to repeat pretty much. It helps it not feel so repetitive every day because okay, you had that experience, but between not remembering here and not remembering there, we find backstory here. So
Right.
instead of like feeling super repetitive because of the curse, I think that's what really helps with the nonlinear storytelling.
I'd even say to that point too, and then plus what you said too, David, is that anybody that relies on a lot of like the time jumps, it starts to feel gimmicky, where like they don't either have enough to really keep the story going, so they have to do something to kind of keep the readers interested. Whereas this one definitely did feel more like it was justified because like it reached a certain point where like I felt naturally reading through the book. It's like, okay, well, how does this kind of fit into this, or like what would have caused her to like feel this way? Then we jump to like that next part in the chapter in the story with the next chapter anyway, going back in time, and then with it being in different segments instead of like a slog through some sort of I'm forgetting the word that I'm looking for here, but just the them having to set up the entirety of the character or why she makes the choices that she does through just written dialogue. You kind of get to go through and feel and experience that alongside the character in that moment in time.
Yeah, absolutely. So speaking of her condition and what's going on, personally, I kind of viewed this almost like a be careful what you wish for kind of story because I think it's very much she kind of got what she wanted, but then realized maybe that's not what she really wanted kind of situation and having to deal with that. If you were offered this opportunity, is this form of immortality something that you yourself would say yes to?
No.
And why is that?
Well, I was thinking about it as I was reading it because on one side you're thinking, oh, this would be cool because you could document us being on YouTube and stuff. It'd be cool. You could document so many things going on. But with her condition, it doesn't stick. Like she can't write it down. So you're never really there. And I think with immortality, what people forget about is not everyone's immortal. So you watch the people you love like die and then you're just alone. And with her, I think it's even worse because no one even remembers her as soon as they walk out the door. So I just don't think it would be a fun time, personally.
Grace.
In all honesty, this type of deal I would probably not take. Kind of to what Keegan said, just like even thinking about like as the story was wrapping up when it talked about like the amount of like works that she's influenced in, all of that, even though it is an evidence of a life lived, it is an evidence of a life lived where you're never going to be remembered. And even though it's about you, there's still that, just air of it's no one's ever going to know it, and just because you know it doesn't really mean that it's going to mean much to you or anybody else. It's just a work that's appreciated, and it's a piece of yourself that will live on, but it's not going to be something that, in my opinion, is as fulfilling as the book tries to make it seem. And so I think, in all honesty, it would be a torturous life to where even if you are forgotten and you are able to continuously move on and be, forever intertwined to somebody for, until you forego your soul, it's definitely not something that I would want to, go through, just because the misery. I mean, sure, you're living forever, but it's an unfulfilled life.
Right. It's kind of like you're living forever, but at what cost?
Exactly.
Brendan?
I also was thinking about this while I was reading it. I at first I thought it would be cool, just because you could have time in different places and see different things, and like the reason she wanted it, to travel and to do things and to be free. But then as I continued reading and saw like how actual bad it was, I don't think I would want it, because I mean, kind of like what Keegan was saying, you're alone. You can't do it. You can't have, an actual relationship or anything, because everyone forgets you. I was also thinking of like the job aspects of it. Like it kind of forces you to become a thief, because
Because what else can you do?
yeah, you can't make money anywhere, so you're not really in. So like that's kind of where I was also thinking about it. Was like, if you're going to do this, how are you going to live? Because how are you going to be able to hold down a job or hold down a house, where somewhere to live? Because you can't.
Which were very real issues that we saw her deal with quite a few times. Even something as simple as finding a place to sleep for the night could sometimes be a challenge, because if you can't own anything, couldn't even, because even when she tried to check out like hotels or something, she'd pay them and get the room, and then they're like, "Who the hell are you?"
Yeah, how did you get in? And
This is supposed to be empty.
Yeah.
And
I
Nick, what about you?
remember-
Would you have took this deal?
No, I wouldn't have taken this deal. I like, it sounds fun at the beginning because she gets to travel, get to do all these things, and like do just live life where she wants to. But yeah, like we talked about, there's a point early on where she tries to rent a hotel, but she doesn't get a receipt, like a paper signed receipt. They like don't remember her, so she's out of the money there. She's constantly having to steal things throughout life. And for me too, it's like the heartbreaking parts where like she meets someone and really connects with them and has a very romantic evening with them, and then they go roll around in the hay, and then once the person wakes up, they think that they like, oh, I don't know you, I'm not normally like this person. And like early on, it's like, here's some money, I'm sure this is exactly what happened. And it's like very, very demeaning life that
Absolutely.
you live, very unfulfilled.
Now, I agree with you guys. I don't think that this cost is worth it. Like, as cool as immortality would be and being able to live as long as you wanted, I definitely think that the not being able to be remembered whatsoever and the challenges there, it would be too difficult in my opinion. But when I was thinking about this question, I also remembered we have to think of the state that she begins and makes this deal in, where she was a woman back in 1700s time period, 1600s, whatever, that if she would have gone through that marriage, he owns her basically. Like,
Yeah.
that is like, I mean, she keeps talking about her friend that was kind of her same age and the life she was going through. You're tied to that man, you have his babies, you raise them, and then you die. So
And it
I
wasn't
very
even
much,
one that she wanted. She was just kind of put into it.
exactly. So I kind of understand where, even as rough as it sounds, that if that was your only chance at freedom, maybe that it would be tempting enough, because we're looking at it as we still have these lives where as men in this time period, like we basically can do whatever we want to a certain extent. We have privilege that she absolutely did not have back then in that time period. Like Brendan was talking about being able to travel and things like that. I absolutely agree. It's one of the things I'd love to do. But back then, like, she wouldn't have been afforded that choice whatsoever. They didn't even let her go with her father anymore to like the big city a couple miles away.
No more traveling.
So yeah, I definitely see the appeal, even though she didn't know what the curse would necessarily mean for her when she took the deal to begin with. But that does bring us to what personally I think is probably the most interesting character of the story. In what Loose Luck? How are you guys pronouncing it?
Oh,
I was
like
pronouncing
Luke,
it Luke, yeah.
like Lucifer, but Luke.
That's
So-
what yeah. I was thinking Loose, like Lucifer,
Mhm.
because I personally believed that he was basically the devil.
Yeah, it's the deal with the devil and the the
Right.
night you're not supposed to take. Yeah.
Even though I don't know if he was actually in this story supposed to be like actual Lucifer, fallen angel, devil that we all know of from the Bible and such like that, but he was definitely that same type of character, correct? Would you all
The
agree?
archetype, yeah.
Yeah. But no, I think he was probably probably the most interesting character that we've met in the book. What did you guys think of him? We'll
I
start
mean,
with
he was
Brendan this time.
definitely the
Or Grayson.
like he's the. Sorry, what were you saying, David?
You're good. No, I said we'll start with Brendan, and then you just started talking.
No, I'll say yeah. Sorry, no, I will shut up and let Brendan go. Sorry.
No, you already started. Go ahead.
All right, fair enough. So honestly, I'd say he's definitely very like Paradise Lost type, devil where or not even really that. It's just the tantamount loner, dark dwelling, personification of the devil without really being called the devil throughout the book. But he is definitely the stereotypical, the almost cliche version of the devil where you make a deal. He's going to make sure that you suffer with that deal no matter what. He takes you before your time is up, no matter how good you are, no matter what you do, no matter where you are.
Like there's
It's
some kind of
always-
loophole where he's going to be the winner in the end, no matter what.
Exactly. You can't cheat the devil. House always wins. You can't beat the devil no matter who you are. He will find a way to take what he wants from you, no matter who you are, even Addie LaRue.
I also think it's interesting how he's very much like, I don't know, straightforward about things. You asked for this. It's not my fault you didn't choose your words carefully. Type.
Where it's almost like that, like malicious compliance. It's like to the letter of what she
Yeah.
said, kind of thing.
It's like, or it's teaching you a lesson of your words can mean different things to different people. I gave you what you asked for. It's not my fault. This is how I interpreted it. Now you
Right,
have to
because
live
she
with your
wasn't clear
choices.
about what she meant. She's just like, oh, he would know what I meant. Like, nope.
He's a mind reader, right?
Yeah.
Feels very much like a legal thing. We have to be super precise with how you word things. But yeah, no,
Very,
I thought he
very
was an
monkey
interesting
paw kind of
character.
situation
Mhm.
where it's like, yeah, you'll get that, but also,
Yeah,
Well, I'd
you
even
get all
say
that,
as the book
but-
kind of went on, and you went on to you get onto the later chapters, it definitely very much felt like he intentionally twisted it in the way where he would get something out of it that he always wanted, in that it definitely was not even just like genie conundrum, like, oh, I misunderstood what you meant. It was, I'm taking something for me because this is the one loophole that I can take advantage of.
Well, I
For
think
that
he
Yeah,
was
reason.
it was
trying
like he
to-
was waiting to get somebody that he could twist it into what he wanted.
I was gonna say, I feel like he was also trying to speed up her choices in some points, of like, not speed up her choices, but like make her cave. I'm gonna
Absolutely.
make life extra hard for you so you can cave, so we can hurry this up and give me what I want.
Mhm.
Now, personally, I don't know how you guys feel. In a way, I feel like his character and like who he is was almost very similar to the life that Addie was having to live, where she basically didn't have anybody.
Mhm.
Like nobody that cared about her, that knew her, could really remember her. And he was, I mean, obviously from a better position of power and a little different, being a god of sorts or whatever, but he, I think, was kind of in that same boat. And I think at the end, like, I think he genuinely had feelings for her.
Mhm.
Whether that be
Absolutely.
just because it was the only person that remembered him, basically. But otherwise, he never would have made that deal that saved Henry's life, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, I think that's why that part of the love triangle works well, is because I think with how he's written and obviously how she is, it makes sense that they would come together because they are in a way the same and they're both alone. So you understand maybe a little bit of the Stockholm syndrome or whatever, but you understand why she drifts to him and they gain that connection. At the same time, he lays out why she's interesting to him because as far as all these other humans that he's dealt with, eventually they cave and she just doesn't cave. So a little
Yeah, she
intrigue.
absolutely kind of stood firmly on. I mean, there's a lot of times that I think she continued existing purely out of spite.
Mhm.
Oh yeah, a lot of them.
Yeah, that if there was any other situation, she would have been like, I'm just going to call it here. But the fact that it was him, she's like, I just can't let him win.
I must come out on top.
Exactly. Yeah. So I thought that was very interesting. And I think another, well, actually, we'll keep talking about curses first. Um, so we do find out, of course, that Henry, the only guy who can remember her, has also made a deal with the same entity, except his is out of more depression almost than anything. How he basically makes it right before he's going to take his own life. And he's allowed a year of life, and basically everybody's going to adore him. That everyone's going to see him as like the object of their design, like perfect guy right there. But he only has that 1 year of experiencing this like greatness. And I guess, if you're about to kill yourself, you're like, fuck it, I wasn't going to have any life anyways. So why not? If you had to pick between the two curses, which one would you personally take and why?
Me personally, I'll answer this first. Me personally, I'd rather take Addie's between Addie's and Henry's. I'd rather take Addie's curse
And why is that?
because if like for me, I put myself in Henry's shoes when he's talking about his curse, and he's like, I'm not sure if they actually want me or if it's just the curse. So like that for me, like I wouldn't know. I wouldn't know if anybody would actually want me around or if it was just the curse. Versus like at least with the invisible life, I understand. Like Addie has understanding of her curse and how her interactions affect with people.
And you know where you stand with people. They may have only known you for the past 2 hours, but they're not fake in love with you, basically.
Right.
Mhm.
And if somebody's like a complete like asshole, I can just easily walk away from them and then they'll never remember me.
I do think there's a lot of fun things you could do with that ability. Like a lot of
Oh
things
yeah.
would suck, but there's some really fun things you could do.
Yeah, absolutely.
Grayson, how about you? What curse would you take?
Well, I understand Nick's argument for, and I mean, I kind of agree with it. I honestly would take, I'll probably take Henry's.
And why is that?
Just because, you get to walk around, enjoy one solid year of just adoration by people, even though it might not be genuine. At the same point, if you're already that low, you weren't going to be staying around long enough anyway. So why not, enjoy that last year and at least have people care about you, even if it's not genuine, and enjoy that while it lasts. Even though it might be short, it's at least something.
Understandable. I get that. How about you, Brendan?
I honestly have no clue. I feel like they both have enough pros and cons that either one is. I connected a little more with him just because, like, he didn't want to put his photography in a gallery because, you know, as a person who does photography, I kind of agree in the you don't know if people would like it because they actually like it or because they have to because of the curse. Which is probably about the only reason I wouldn't choose his. But
So kind of similar to what Nick was saying, that you would never know who's being honest with you or who's being manipulated by whatever
yeah,
paranormal force is going on.
but like Grayson was saying, I guess if you only have a year, then who cares?
Just live it up, right?
I mean, you take the expressway out regardless, so at least you get a whole year to feel good.
Yeah, live fast, die young. I would probably do the year as well. I mean, it's more fleeting and stuff like that, but at least you still can kind of build a life. You can still make a mark. We can still do what we're doing right now and like take part in things. Yeah, you might not know who's being truthful, but it's better than not really being there and not able to really form I mean, she's not forming real connections either, because even if they like her for who she is, it doesn't matter.
How deep can you really get in 24 hours? And that's like the max amount of time.
Yeah. I mean, heck, if they go to the bathroom on your date and they come back out, they won't know who you are. So,
Or you could be the creeper that's like, let me go with you.
yeah.
Keep looking at me while you do this.
Not to sidetrack, but that did make me think of something I thought was kind of funny as I was reading the book. Initially, she has that scene in the movie theater where she's like, she picks up the old bucket of popcorn. She's like, some kid knocked this down. Like, could you? And then reading that part made me think, like, how funny would it be if you went and paid for the ticket? You go into the theater and like, yo, you're in my spot. Like, what's going on? It's like, I don't know what you're talking about. He's like, I'm gonna go get the manager, and then the moment he walks away, he just forgets why he walked out of the theater, and then he's like, oh yeah, I gotta go see a movie, and then it's just an endless repeat for like a premiere.
You're in my spot, and they just keep over and over.
Yep. I thought about that as I was reading that too. I was like, that'd be hilarious.
That's actually really funny to think about. Like, how many times would loops like that happen because they forgot what they were doing, and they're like, oh yeah, and they turn back around, and it's like, wait, why are you here?
Yep.
Personally, I think it's a very, very difficult choice, but I think I'd have to go with Addie's. Kind of like Nick said as well, that it's difficult to see where anybody. It's like if people are forced to like you, like, does anything really mean anything? And then even if they can't make lasting connections with you, kind of in the way that she kind of kept checking in on certain people and things like that, like, you can still care about them for a long time, even if it's not necessarily like with you the way you like. You can still watch your family grow, watch people that you had been with and made connections with, what happens with them. And I like to think you could find clever ways to use your ability of being forgotten, things like that, to kind of impact the world in ways, I would think. And especially, I mean, you're immortal, they can't do anything to you. Like, the worst thing they could do probably is throw you in jail. And then they instantly forget why you're there.
Yeah, or you're in like a pit jail or something like that.
Yeah, I just feel like there's a lot of things. Like Addie would be a badass spy, but she could never get hired by an agency.
You could never bring home any information because it wouldn't exist.
Yeah.
Well, I guess it would, because she could steal things, but she couldn't, like...
Yeah, and she could tell them, but they'd be like, who the hell are you?
How did
they
you
wouldn't
learn?
know that she's working with them. Yeah, exactly. So I think you could find some really cool things, and I would make up so many just like pointless things that I'd want to do. Like, I'm going to find all of the fake Spinosaurus bones in the world, like there's just a lot of things that you could accomplish, that just to give yourself like arbitrary things to like, or even just reading. Like, you could read so many books,
and in so many different languages, like she did, right?
Because yeah, you'd learn. Well, why not? You have all this time. I think the biggest issue, and I don't think we saw this too much with Addie, but I think that much time alive, I think it would drastically change the person that you are.
Yeah, I don't think there was enough of that. Like, I felt like she was very much the same character throughout the whole
I
thing.
think,
Which is fine
yeah, I think
for
she
it,
might have
but
gotten a little more cynical, possibly.
a little more jaded, and yeah.
Right.
I mean, there's the one scene where her and Henry are out on a date, and she ends up paying. Like, this is after she's confessed everything to him and all that stuff, and she ends up paying for the date, and he goes, "How'd you get that money?" And she's like, "You already know how I got this money. I don't have a job. I stole this." And it's very much that, yeah, it would very much change how you interact with the world.
Yeah, because things that you wouldn't even dream of doing now would become literally basically what you did to survive.
Mm-hmm.
Like
But-
the gay actor that she starts using his penthouse because she knows the codes.
Mm-hmm.
Things like that.
I mean, even think about this too. Is like you are literally forgotten every single time, so you literally get to experience no positive emotion after 24 hours. The second they look away, you're not getting warm and remembered. You're not actually getting anybody that wants to remember you. You're not getting any sort of positive treatment that lasts long enough. So you do have to end up becoming a little bit more thick-skinned and a little bit more survivalist in nature just to be who you have to be.
A little bit more callous, yeah.
You would have to be, yeah, because like Grayson said, like you're never going to build those warm relationships anymore, and every bit of positivity you get has to be earned over and over again every single day.
Man, those poor
But
people that lived with her for like months.
and didn't even know.
Yeah.
Now, speaking of that, and this is a little bit of a tangent, but because we are live right now and this is being done on this day, I think a very interesting question on the whether you would rather have one or the other. Would you rather have the life of something like this with Addie LaRue? Or would you like to find yourself in a situation like Groundhog Day,
Little Bill Murray.
where you're
Oh,
reliving the
okay.
day over and over again, where everybody you have your life, they remember you and everything, but as soon as that day ends, right back to the beginning, a nice little time loop. What do you
A
think
little
would be
bit
the
like
better?
purgatory right there.
But at least everybody knows you in that day. But
Yeah,
it's
but
only that day.
it would feel super. I don't think I could do that. That would be so repetitive, like every single day.
If you made it that way.
Yeah, I mean, if we're going off of Groundhog Day, like the way it's portrayed in the Bill Murray movie, you
That's
could do
that's what we're
also
going with.
right. But I mean, there's other iterations of that story. That's why I said
Right. There's plenty of time loops. I mean, even like what was it? Palm Beach? Is that the one with?
yeah, Andy Samberg and
Such a
Christina
great
Milioti.
movie.
Great
Such a
movie,
good movie.
great movie. But I think the premise of it, them being at a wedding all weekend or that for that one day over and over again, limits what they're doing. Versus like if you're doing what Bill Murray did, like he learned how to play piano, he learned how to carve ice, he learned how to do all of that in that one town, and like that to me is enticing. With being able to like develop all sorts of different skills until you're out of that time loop. I still think I'd rather go with Addie's curse, Addie's
Okay.
life.
What about the rest of you
It'd
guys?
get too repetitive for me too.
Yeah, I'm not gonna Bill Murray it. So
In all honesty, I'm going to go against the grain. I would definitely Groundhog Day it. Now, hear me out. The first couple of weeks would suck because you're doing the same thing over and over again, nonstop. But as you said, he learned how to play piano. He could do a whole bunch of other stuff. He could learn how to do anything he wanted to do inside that town. And then once he figured out life, he got to keep living after the fact. And he also got to have warm relationships and actually have a fulfilling life. So, in my opinion, go learn the stuff you want to do.
Hold on. We are saying in this situation you can't break the time loop.
Ooh, that's a rough one.
Yeah,
And
you can't-
even then, I'll add something to that too because I thought about this as I watched Groundhog Day. The woman he falls in love with is his coworker, and he's just seen. That's like the only woman he's seen that entire time.
There's plenty of other women though. He could have changed to a different one.
True.
So let me ask you this: are you stuck to the town, or are you able to leave like via plane or anything?
You can go wherever you want, but once that 24-hour point hits, you're going to be back in bed at the same place. So it'll snap you back.
So no Australia. You can't get that far.
But I will give you this: since we took away that you can eventually break the loop, you can pick where you start the day. And that's it. Like you'll get one choice. Like you can be like, all right, middle of New York City, let's go. Something. And that's where you are. But that's where you are for the rest of until you're done.
Yeah, you know what? I'm gonna have to backtrack. I think I'm going to Eddie LaRue on that one.
I'm just imagining Grayson on like a flight to Australia, and he's like, "I'll catch a couple Z's," and then he wakes up. No.
I mean, in all honesty, like if we were to do something like that where I could pick and it's the same spot every time. It's like one spot. That's where I go back to. Period.
Yep.
In all honesty, I'd probably still do it. I'd probably still go with Groundhog Day, to be honest with you.
Right in the heart of Orlando, Florida.
I'm going to Disney World.
He just starts a list of like beating up each character, or just
I mean, honestly, first and foremost, we're going with Mickey. Just don't ask me why. I don't really have to.
he makes it his personal
Grayson.
mission to steal each outfit and be that character on stage at least once. Just
I would become the ultimate Florida man stuck inside that loop. That's all I'm going to tell you.
Grayson's Groundhog Day is just him beating up different Disney characters every single day until he's satisfied.
every few weeks he goes and just swims with the whales at SeaWorld. Just jumps in the tank.
Mid-show.
Just pull a Bill Murray's just self-deletion attempt. Just see me chucked out by orcas and everything.
He just starts up on like, what's the most interesting way I can do it?
I was gonna say 1,000 Ways to Die.
He goes from Disney to then to Universal and starts beating up all the Harry Potter cast.
I would start picking like one tourist a day that I just followed the entire day. Just to see their story. What do they do?
You know what I would honestly do is I'd probably spend one of the days pulling a Stewie, which would be go find like if I was in Disney World, go find somebody that had a tuba and then follow around the largest tourist that I could find and do the burp the entire day.
When you said Stewie, I thought you were just gonna go find some random mother and be like, Mom, Mummy, like all day.
Hey, it could go that way too. You never know. It's a time loop that never ends. You got to keep yourself entertained.
Oh, you're a menace. I love it.
I think I might have to pick that too. I feel like I could keep myself entertained for longer. Without,
My
like,
only
giving
question
up.
is, how much money is in your bank account for Groundhog Day?
However much money you have in your bank account right now.
Well, plus you have credit cards, so what does it matter? You spend it all on the credit card, and
Then I choose Groundhog
the
Day.
next day.
I definitely choose Groundhog Day.
Let's
See,
let's say you got $1 million.
Definitely Groundhog Day then.
I mean, think about this too. You'd be basically dining out at the best restaurants in the area or wherever you go because it doesn't matter. You'd be reset the next day. There's no recourse. There's no damage done to you.
You know how far I can travel in a day in Kansas? Or like in
the entire state of Kansas?
Kansas?
The entire state of Kansas?
I hope you get further than the entire state of Kansas in a day.
Are you not if you're walking?
We are centrally located in a lot of things. So
you get to pick where you would go. Like you can pick where you start. So you could be like Vegas forever. Though I do think Orlando would actually be a really funny choice because there's just so many different things you could do that are just outrageous.
No,
I was going to say, like, the first thing I'd do would fly out to Orlando and just go to all the parks and do everything I wanted to do, even if it was a 5-hour flight.
So if you could just start there, you just wait, like you wake up in a nice hotel room at like 8 a.m. and you have until 8 a.m. the next day.
Yeah, I would probably pick Orlando, do all that, and then if I want to fly, somewhere else on the East Coast, right there, bing, bang, boom, done.
So Keegan,
True.
Keegan, as the only other person who picked Addie's curse here, I don't know about you, but was history a factor for you for your choice? Because that was part of my choice. Is like how much all the history you get to see happen.
Yeah, you can see the past, present. Well, not the past, but our past.
We're saying that your curse starts right now.
Yeah,
right.
But you could see so far into the future and just see all the advancements, which I think would be really cool. They didn't touch upon it too much in the book, but just the progress that humans made in her lifetime is crazy. Just to think how far we'll be in that amount of time in our future would be insane. So history would be big. Plus you can go really anywhere and see anything. And unlike Groundhog Day where it resets, you have a lot more freedom as far as where you can go and travel. and stuff like that. And it's technically all free too if no one really remembers who you are, right?
So yeah, they're like, "What are you doing? Hold on, just let me duck behind here." Oh, they don't remember you.
Wait. Let me just hold up this book. Whoa, who are you?
Excuse me, can I see your express pass? Oh, look over there.
Oh, hey, who are you? I just showed you that. Oh,
I just showed it to you.
So kind of a totally different direction. Something that I don't think they touched on enough, because especially if I was living forever, basically, because she has all this time. If you literally are in this position because you made basically a deal with the devil, right? Would you not at some point hardcore start looking for other supernatural entities?
Yes.
Because if there's a darkness / god, like the gods that answer after dark, then there's got to be the gods that answer in the day, like the good guys, basically.
The yin
Like,
to the yang, yeah.
Yeah, like there has to be at least
They
one
never
other something out there, and she just never really goes to look for it. I feel like that would be 100% something I would invest all my time in trying to find and contact these other people with as much power as what Luce had.
I don't know if I would dedicate all of my time to that, but I would dedicate some time to it.
I mean,
for
at some
sure.
point when I have nothing else to do,
Yeah, for sure.
because it just feels like if anybody was ever going to be able to help her situation, it would have to be somebody that strong.
Right.
Yeah. Or at least put it in there why she didn't, like, maybe gods can't, like, negate other gods, like curses or whatever.
Either that or start tracking down, like, supposed supernatural items throughout the world or something, like something that I feel like could maybe give me a foot up over my situation.
What if she just became, like, the God Butcher, like, from Marvel?
I mean, she never really tried to attack him.
Grayson, did you get angry just now too?
What do you mean?
Like, why would Keegan bring that horrible stuff up?
Well, as soon as he said that, I'm like, yeah. I was a little. He did dumb me down a little bit, Keegan, talking about.
I mean, Nick,
Thor:
it
Love and
is
Thunder in here, but you know,
it is a comic book that existed before the film.
I'm aware.
You know
I
what,
was
though?
just still caught off guard.
This is going to sound shallow as hell, but now that y'all mentioned that, I wouldn't do Groundhog Day. I'd have to do Addie so I can go see new movies.
That's fair.
Because doing the Groundhog Day, you never have anything to look forward to in terms of like new things coming out.
That's part of it for me too. Is like, yeah, you could learn, like you could read all the books that you've wanted to read for so long, but
But eventually you got them all.
if you're trapped within a certain area and you got whatever is in that area and there's nothing new coming to it.
I would say, in all honesty, like the idea of a Groundhog Day is nice, but I honestly probably am going to change too, because at least you do have the freedom to, go wherever you want to. Plus, like if you do get stuck with somebody like Luke, where like they just randomly transport you, you don't have to worry about flights and stuff like that. So you can do whatever you want to do anyway.
I wonder if, we'll bring this up when we talk about the ending. That's fine. So now that we've kind of discussed the curses a little bit and what they entailed, kind of how life would be different with those certain abilities, I wonder, I know this is considered at least somewhat a romance, as we all agreed. Do we think that Addie and Henry were actually ever in love? Or was it that they had found the only person that could basically be with them due to their respective curses? Like, were they genuinely in love? If they were two normal people who had met, would that connection have still been there? Or was this more a relationship of convenience and relief at finding somebody that could handle their disability, basically?
I think it was definitely a connection is a connection no matter how it's made, but it was definitely a connection made out of starvation or thirst, I guess, because they're both people that were stuck in a situation where they didn't feel loved. So, I mean, Henry made a ultimate deal to feel the ultimate way that he possibly could, and then she just didn't have anybody that could remember her for more than a day. So while they still found appreciation for each other in a genuine way, but it was definitely from the fact that they were both in such a deep need of somebody to see them as they were.
So if they were regular people who just met at the bookstore, would they have still had this situation happen? Do you think they still would have fallen for each other and been together, or?
I'm essentially saying no. Is that the way that they both were in a situation like this, they both were so starved for connection that they found it like this. But if it was like, Addie LaRue was just some chick that was alive in, 2014, I do not think that they would have been as deeply
Wouldn't have headed off.
Yeah. Because she is so fiercely independent, she would not have been as looking to be with somebody like that, since she was, in a situation for centuries where nobody could really know who she was.
Right.
I was gonna say, I'll piggybacking off of that. I think, if they both met randomly, neither of them had their curses, probably no connection. But with their curses, and with the ending of the book in mind, I do think it was genuine love.
Yeah, so
I like to believe it was genuine love.
But I do believe they thought it was genuine love. But do you believe it was actual genuine love and not just her being so starved of having nobody for literally hundreds of years, and then he feeling like she was the first person to see him for who he was?
Well, and so one thing that I was thinking about last couple of days since I finished it was his curse was just people saw, or he was to them what they always wanted. So how do we know him remembering her wasn't just part of that curse?
Oh, it was. That's why he was able to remember her, because what she wanted more than anything
was to be
was right. So it was, she was still, I believe, seeing him as who he was, but that's because what she wanted was somebody that was completely
just
themselves,
remembered.
but could remember her. That's 100% the reason why she was the only one that saw through his curse and heard through his.
Yeah.
So to that point, David, no, it was not genuine. It was definitely.
You think it was manufactured? I guess not manufactured, but it was definitely I think a relationship of circumstances. And that's not to say it didn't, because like I do believe they genuinely felt for each other. I just don't know if it's what we would necessarily call like true love that we would experience.
Kind of like love between the last two people on Earth.
Right. It's like, well, what's your other option?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I thought hard about the love aspect of it, because I thought about the love triangle. If I may, I'll just go right ahead and say what I was thinking about here. Hopefully I'm not giving too much spoilers away, but like,
no, we're talking. We can say spoilers. Remember, it's fine.
Right. I wasn't sure if we were trying to talk about the ending yet so far.
No,
though.
We're fine. Go ahead. You can talk. You bring it up.
So, the way I thought about these characters when it came to the love triangle is, Luke to me was the representation of like possessive love in the book. Like, if I can't have, like, the way he treated Addie is like, if I can't have you, no one can, kind of thing. And that kind of played itself with the curse that she had like, where nobody remembered her, and he kind of like constantly played those strings every time they met up. Like, no one remembers you, but I do. So he felt that, for me, felt like a very kind of possessive type of love. Henry was very much more the desire part of love, and how you want to be like, people just want to be desired sometimes, and that's totally okay, totally normal. It is what it is. And then Addie for me was the kind of more of the compassion side of love, especially with the ending where she decided to give in to Luke's wishes. That way Henry could continue living. And therefore she loved him and let him go. The not possessive kind of love.
Yeah, I definitely like, it's a more wholesome, genuine kind of thing, as opposed to I have to own you. It's like, I love you even if you're not with me. I love you for who you are, kind of thing. But I think this is another place where the whole aspect of living forever kind of comes into play, because funny enough, kind of the same thing that people bring up when they're talking about something like Twilight. Realistically, this woman's like 300 years old.
Yeah, and he's like 30.
This dude's like, in his like late 20s, early 30s.
Yep.
How much realistically would she really have in common now with a regular person. Like, do you think that's possible that that would be a factor? Or, I mean,
I mean,
that's a very difficult.
Realistically, I would say yes. It would definitely be a factor where she. I think she would be much more changed than what we saw in the book. Realistically, if you live for so long, because I think even your mind is trying to compress so many different memories for so long, it would start to change itself. Um, Obviously for the book, it really didn't because she was the same pretty much. She changed a little bit towards the end, but yeah, I think realistically there'd be some differences.
Yeah,
realistically, there would be
I think it'd be very hard to relate to people
Hmm.
the same
very,
way
very
that you
much
would
so.
like now. Yeah.
Very much so, but I also thought about the fact that she's perpetually 23. She's frozen in time at 23 as well. So
Right.
she could still relate to people because of the fact that she just looks that way, and so
Well,
people would still treat her that
sure.
way.
I think a lot of that kind of superficial stuff, absolutely. But I kind of take it back to people like even now, like people here, like five of us, if one of us has experienced, super traumatic events and things like that, I think it does change you, and people can't really relate to you if they haven't been through those same kind of circumstances. You can still relate on some levels, but there's other things that I don't think he would ever have been able to
Oh,
understand
yeah.
from things because it's just not possible without having that kind of life. Which again, like with Twilight, they're like, well, why was Edward so into Bella? Like she's 17 and he's over 100. Like it is one of those things where it's a very large gap just in experience and the way. Because I personally feel like everything in life you experience kind of changes how you see life. Like
Yeah.
it's going to color things just a little bit. And she's literally experienced millions of things at this point that I do think it might be a little more difficult to truly connect with somebody. And I don't think it would happen in as short a time as what happened with them. Um, so I think it was very much a, hey, like you said, like last man on earth kind of situation where it's like, you're the only one that I can connect with. So it's going to happen regardless of those kind of gaps that may be there in reality.
I mean, and then to that point too, even like with what Nick brought up earlier, with Luke being possessive, he was the only other guy that was able to remember her and give her a love where it was not possessive. It was, I'm just enjoying you and you're just enjoying me, in a way where it was allowing her to be what she really wanted. But again, that was part of, Henry's curse anyway. So with that, it was the only reason that she clung on to that so much was because that was the only outlet that she had besides Luke, and that honestly pushed her. I think Luke even on that, man, I can't talk. On that point, Luke pushed her even farther away by giving her what she wanted in Henry by having them cross paths. Even though he wanted to break her, it was the final straw that pushed her farther away because she saw what was possible, even with what was possible, and showed that Luke was still doing what she was running away from even to begin with.
Yeah, that he was basically controlling and manipulating her even when it didn't seem like it.
Exactly. And she was running away from that kind of situation to make her make that deal anyway.
Right.
And also for me, another thing too that makes me think it's love is again going off of Addie's choice. Like if you love something, you let it go, and that's kind of how I view relationships. But if you love something, you let it go. Like if you look at a flower on the in the dirt road or whatever, you're not gonna pick that flower because the moment you do that, it's just going to start to slowly wither and die right there in front of you. Versus if you let it go, it could grow into a bigger, like much more beautiful flower. And so she kind of did that for Henry, and then Henry becoming the author of The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue too. I felt like he just really loved her as well because she made such an impact on his life because of that.
And I mean, I don't know if this is what they intended by this, but the fact that he didn't even have his name as the author, it
Mm-hmm.
was more like he just wanted the story to be out there versus I want to get fame from this or money, whatever. That it was
Mm-hmm.
more him caring genuinely, like that her story was told.
Yep.
So I would say if I had to pick, I do think it was maybe a more honest love from Henry than Addie, just with their circumstances. And he was in a super vulnerable spot. I mean, he was less than a year away from having tried to kill himself. So obviously, dude was not in a good place.
And if I remember correctly, the relationship that he had just gotten out of wasn't that long, too, right?
Yeah,
none
because
of his were.
he had the engagement turned down, and that's when he was
Right.
going to kill himself. And then the stuff after that was just kind of touch and go relationships. It sounded like.
Right.
Yeah, very very interesting. It's just I guess it's kind of, would you rather have like the short amount of time but have like a meaningful life in like a very, very short time, or a super long life but that you couldn't really impact things? It's definitely a very philosophically difficult question.
Yeah.
Now, I'm interested, as you guys definitely could read through the book, I feel that art in particular played a very important role. And you can tell the author feels very strongly about art. I would say, like, if anything, I would say the message almost throughout the book was that art is everlasting and can, get messages out there that maybe other things can't. And that, the history of things and emotions and all can be seen through that. What did you guys think about the use of art in the book and the way that each kind of section was framed by a different piece of art and such, that we found out at the end was inspired by Addie, basically, even if they didn't remember her?
No one wants to go first. I'll just say I actually really enjoyed the art being part of the story. It made me feel like I was appreciating more than just the story itself. It made me feel like I was appreciating other things, other aspects of the life around me. Like, yeah, it was very, very. And then also, David, I mentioned to you, I loved the way V.E. Schwab writes. It's
I
very
will
lyrical, very
absolutely.
poetic, filled with the one line I still think about is the sun fell like a scythe. It's very succinct sentence, very short sentence, but it has such a bigger impact than the sun was shining that day.
Right. I will 100% agree with you, and not to throw a shot at you. It was just very sharply contrasted by the previous book that we read. Going into this one, the way the authors chose to handle their mastery of language was very different. So I think that helped kind of sharpen it even further. Because, like you said, I think lyrical is a great way to describe the way that she wrote, at least this story, because it very much flowed, I think, the entire time. There was a lot of very beautiful prose.
I will say this is the first book that we've done in this series where I picked it up the first day I could, and I read it every single day until I had it finished. Every
Nice.
other book that we've read, even the ones I've picked, I'll set aside like an hour or so or a couple hours a week to read it. But this one
you wanted to get back to it and see what happened and keep going.
And it helped too that some of the chapters were really short. Like some of the entries were just like, oh, this one day or this day on 2 pages. So I got to read it while I was working, while I was just on my downtime, which was really nice.
Yeah, no, I agree. I do. Like I said kind of earlier, there was a lot of opportunity here, especially with your character living so long. There could have been so much filler in this book. She could have dragged it out and milked this story for twice as long as what the book was. And
on this day, I found my favorite bagel.
Exactly. Yeah, they definitely could have changed that, and it would have been excruciating. So I'm very glad that she didn't do that. And the mixing it up, kind of as we mentioned before, it did stop it from being repetitive. Because again, if it would have gone in chronological order, it would have been a lot of Addie shows up somewhere, tries to survive, steals some shit, finds a place to sleep, wakes up, does it all again, and just over and over and over. So she is definitely, I think, a fantastic writer. She did a very good job with this book. I think I might have read one or two of her other ones that are a little different, but her writing style has always been pretty well, in my opinion. It doesn't, I don't want to say hurt, but when I'm reading it, I can definitely tell smooth and flowing voices over ones that almost take me out of the story because of how clunky they're written.
Like Gate to Kagoshima. I'll say it.
No, I was actually going to say even something like Jurassic Park. Like,
Jurassic
well, no, because Michael Crichton is a great writer. I enjoy his stories and everything. But the way Jurassic Park is written and everything, I do remember that I'm reading a book, or things will happen, you know.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
It's more like action sequences, whatever the way they're all done. It is not a flow kind of book. You don't disappear and lose yourself in the story the same way. It's more like it's the difference between like walking into a Marvel movie versus going to see a live theater production. It's just very different. They both can be very good at what they do and what you're seeing and experiencing, but the way that they are presented, I think, does a lot towards changing how you feel about it and how it affects you.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if we're going off the lyric, the way I think about like music too, it's like listening to just one album versus like listening to a concept album. Concept albums
Absolutely.
where they have one
It's either a smattering of
overarching
songs
story,
or one long story kind of
one long
weaving through it.
story told throughout an album. Yeah,
Exactly. And even if you're doing the other one, like every single song on that album could be a banger.
absolutely. It
But
could be a banger, but it's
not
all
one long
different.
story.
Yeah.
Yeah. And no, I use Jurassic Park because that's one that we actually still liked. It's just different in the way it's written. I didn't need to go for.
I can see Keegan's. I can see the wheels turning in Keegan's head. He's like, "What the hell is David saying about Jurassic Park right now?
He just
Is
ends
he
it.
talking smack? Spinosaurus is great."
Hey, if he said he loved Gate to Kagoshima, we might have to end this.
No, I don't want to lose all credibility. But yeah, no, Brendan, Grayson, what did you guys think about the use of art in telling this story and how it kind of interplayed throughout Addie's tale?
I mean, in all honesty, I think the use of art was well done. I think it was a nice way to kind of show that even though she was like, even though Addie wasn't able to create the art that she wanted to throughout time, she at least was still able to have an influence on certain things here and there. Even including the book that was written about her. But I think art is one of those things that is very, I mean, it's very true on how it affects anyone throughout the ages. I mean, like, just for example, if you go like to, last year I got to go visit my brother in New York, and we went to the Met, and nothing but just century old pieces in there, and it's stunning to see that kind of history all in one place. And it's all artwork, it's all just grand pieces brought into this one place. And so art is definitely something that transcends time, no matter who you are. There is something that will affect you, even if it's not paint, even if it's not painting, even if it's not drawing, even if it's not music. There is something that will affect you in a way that, you know, makes you realize that you're just a speck in time throughout history. So it was definitely a very interesting way to show the progression of time and just the importance and the influence that art can have on somebody, especially when they can't create or do any of their own.
I agree.
I agree. I enjoyed it. I thought it was a good way of showing like where she was and kind of her timeline, even though no one could really recognize her because her faces were blurry or whatever, or you could still see her features or something, her freckles or whatever. And I don't know, I just kind of like what Grayson was saying, it's a stamp in time, and I thought she did a really well job of it.
Kagan?
No, I enjoyed it. Obviously, you guys know I love museums and artifacts, so it always interests me to see that. But I think it also serves more of a philosophical kind of storyline throughout it, because even though she doesn't think she can impact anything, she has. And even though she thinks she can't leave a trace, she can. So I think it also just shows that, hey, even though maybe you're not thinking you're changing or helping everyone else's life, you might still be, even if you don't feel that way. So I like that.
You could still be making an impact even if you don't realize it.
Yeah. And I like old artifacts and stuff like that. I thought that was cool how in each chapter they just showcased a different thing, be it the birds or the photographs or the painting and stuff.
I absolutely agree. And I personally took this, and maybe it's just because I'm a writer myself, and I believe that's why she wrote it this way, because I think that's how she probably thinks. I think it's a very strong message of art being kind of an everlasting monument to something. Like material things, buildings, things that we create will eventually rust, fade, be destroyed, whatever. But a true piece of art, like a song, a story, something like that, is going to be more resilient through the ages. So I thought that was just kind of a cool way of getting that across. And like you said, it's a really good way to show that you may not even realize the impact you're making by touching somebody's life. And she felt like she was being completely thrown aside, but it turns out those interactions she had were still touching their heart, even if it was in a way that they didn't remember consciously,
Yeah, to the point, Bay was writing her thesis on like this mystery woman who was
Exactly.
Yeah.
So there was obviously some kind of hole that had been created throughout time from where she was supposed to, where she would have been.
Yeah.
Well, it's like what Luke says, where it's like ideas are stronger than a lot of things. Ideas are very strong.
Yeah, and I think it kind of showed that even somebody with the powers or something like that still couldn't completely destroy an idea or concept of somebody, which personally I think gave her a lot of strength to continue on.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought that was pretty cool. And I've done a lot of thinking about this ever since we picked this book back up again, because I think I've told Keegan and Nick that I was never like a huge fan of the ending of the book. However, the more I've thought about it over this past month, I think I actually do really appreciate the ending, because I think it was the best way to end the story of what we had up till now, and kind of leave it with that kind of open-endedness and not being with Henry and things like that. I think it actually did a really good job of it's not a happy ending by any means, but it's also not a sad one. It's more, I think, a little more realistic of the situation they're in, of this being the outcomes, and really leaves it open for a lot of different things to happen. But yeah, what did you guys think of the ending?
I mean, I'll shut up, Keegan. Sorry. No, I mean, for me, I agree. After
Nick just disappears.
After I've had to think about because I finished this book on the 15th, so I was after thinking about it for the past 2 weeks or so. I agree with you. It's not a very happy ending, but it's a very succinct, and it works well. And it feels like that was the only way it could have ended. I'm not a fan of it because I want a happy ending when it comes to romance, but it is a bittersweet ending, and it does suit the way the story played out.
I feel like it stays true to the rest of the book.
Yes.
Yeah.
It would be very weird for the story to actually end on a happy note, I feel like.
And I mean, I would have gone with it, but I don't think it would have left the same impact that it did with the ending it has now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. See, my issue with the ending isn't how it turned out as far as what happened. I just think there was too much explaining or hand holding at the very, very end. I would have much rather, as soon as she's gone, that's like the last we see of her, and it leaves it more up to, did she die? Like, is that it? Like, he collected the soul? Is he, or is she living with him now? I would have just left it there, or left it with the book being published, so at least her story's out there. But I just don't think we needed that final scene where she picks up the book and she's still gonna fight. Like, I feel like that was her whole story throughout the book, so I don't think we needed that reiterated. But I was fine with like her learning and having that character arc and taking Henry's place to save him. I just would have, that would have been her final moment for me in the book if I was writing it.
Yeah, I remember you were telling me about the other day. I agree. Something where it just, you could piece it together what it was, kind of situation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It just
Grayson,
feels a little
Brendan?
too happy, like American Hollywood film, where we can't leave it so open ended. We got to at least give you guys this after credit scene, like I told you, where there's
Got to
still
tie
hope.
it up.
Yeah, and if she's not planning to make another one, it would have been better to leave it open ended. Because then, did it
I
even?
mean,
happen?
I still feel like it's still open ended.
I just would have left it even more. I think that would have helped, because it could have been like, did this even happen, or did he just create this whole story to make the book? And I would have liked that too.
Well, to Keegan's point, I'm just gonna leap into my thing here. I do agree with Keegan a little bit. I think that with how ambiguous and kind of mysterious the entire story is, it should have left a little bit more mystery in the ending. I mean, I get why she did it. It sells books. It makes people feel like they're in on the entire ending, but it's felt a little too just cut and dry, regular, nothing too fancy. It was just definitely a little popcorn book. By all means, it was just very not letting you end with the ambiguity. It was still like that little nugget to make people feel like there was a little bit of hope going forward. But I entirely, I think for the most part, it was a decent wrap up. And I think honestly, if the ending had gone like super sappy or super Lifetime, happy or Hallmark happy, it would have been definitely out of left field and would not have meshed with the rest of the tone of the book. It would have definitely made it like, it would have been a very hard left turn that would have been like, I mean, that's not what I would have done, but I get it. But I'm glad that they stuck for the most part with just a consistent, like, nobody really loses, but nobody really wins either type thing.
That's kind of the story of her life.
Exactly.
Nobody comes out on top.
No substance, no meaning, just there, like life. So yeah, I mean, in all honesty, I thought the ending was done fairly well. I feel like the book was overall a pretty well done book. So yeah, I feel like it was good.
And Brendan, what do you think about the ending?
I thought it was fine. I didn't feel like it was overdone or, there was one book I read earlier this year and I was like, really, that's how we're going to end? I never felt like that with this one. And, so, I kind of like what Keegan was saying was maybe we didn't need the after credit scene, of her picking up the book or something, maybe leaving it off where he had just released the book and I don't know.
Just leave it where it says "I remember you" or something. It doesn't have to show who picked up the book, because then the audience could have been like, "It was her." Just leave it there where she reads that dedication.
Yeah, it could have even been like he gets the book that's just been published. Like he opens the box of like his first copy. He's looking at it. And then he opens it and reads the dedication that just says, "I remember you," and that could have been it.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I know what you mean. So, Keegan, you kind of touched on it a minute ago. I did want us to talk about it. We've still got about 10, 15 minutes. So, as I think we've all discussed a little bit, Addie LaRue is on its way to becoming a Hollywood movie. Big budget feature film and everything. And I was interested in picking your brains on what you guys think that's going to be like, if you think this will translate well to the big screen, and who do you think you would cast in some of our major roles of this film?
Real quick before I give my answer, because I think I've talked to you about who I would cast as Addie. Could you imagine at the end of the book, just for Keegan's argument, could you imagine at the end of the book, like they open up the book and it says "I remember you," but then all the pages are blank? Like it's like Luke at the very end, just like, nope, one last thing I gotta do. No more.
Or it says "I remember you," and then the story is just like not her story at all.
it's
just
it's Jurassic Park. Like what the?
Well,
No.
in all honesty, like, has anybody here heard of The Secret Life of Adeline?
It's not called The Secret Life.
Or whatever.
But yes, Age of Adeline was
Age of Adeline with Blake Lively. Yep.
Yeah, the only thing different about that, well, a lot of different. Basically, it is about immortality again, but she's able to be remembered. She has a regular life, and hers happens through like almost a scientific mishap kind of situation. And then that brings with it a bunch of other challenges. Mainly, she has to hide the fact that she doesn't age. So there's a lot of like getting fake IDs at certain points, having to move so people don't remember. And that one deals a lot more with the fact that kind of what y'all brought up earlier, that being immortal means watching everybody you love die.
Yep. No, for my casting though of Addie LaRue, I think I'd pick Elle Fanning. If I'm thinking of the correct person, I'm gonna double check that. Sorry.
That's not a bad pick.
I think you did say Elle Fanning when you were saying the two you were imagining.
Yeah, I mean as I was reading, every time I pictured Addie LaRue, I pictured Elle Fanning.
And did you picture anybody for the other roles?
I thought maybe Joe Keery, because I just watched the
Stranger Things
finale. I think Joe Keery has a little bit more range than what we saw in Stranger Things. But then also, what's the other guy's name who played Billy from Stranger Things? Dacre Montgomery.
Mm-hmm.
I think he would also make a good Henry or Luke, because he has that kind of bad guy sense to him, but then he also has other roles where he plays just a nonchalant kind of guy.
And I think you were telling me you'd really wish that it would have been Timothée Chalamet, right?
No.
As every role.
No.
Addie, Henry, Luke.
As every role. No.
I mean, if Adam Sandler can do it, so can he, right?
I think you did mention actually one that I think would also be, I think he's a little overplayed right now, but I do think Tom Holland would have been a good choice as well for Henry.
No, absolutely.
Tom Holland, yeah. Tom Holland, he makes a very good kind of dorky kind of character.
I think the one that I agreed with the most that you did bring up, if he was a little younger, if we could go back to like 500 Days of Summer age with Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
Mm-hmm.
I think he would have knocked it out of the park. He would have been a fantastic Henry.
He would have been a great Henry if this book had came out 20 years ago. It would have easily been Joseph Gordon-Levitt for my pick.
Absolutely, I do definitely agree. But yeah, anybody else have a fan casting they would do for Miss Addie LaRue?
I would say Elle Fanning, great choice. I don't really think I would go with anything different. Maybe Sydney Sweeney, but not really.
Hold on.
I wouldn't pick Sydney Sweeney. We all love our Sydney Sweeney. I don't see Sydney Sweeney. And
that's why I said not really.
I don't want anybody coming after me for this. I don't see Sydney Sweeney playing an intellectually like.
That's why I said
I don't think she could grip at my heartstrings that much.
Now, one, she may. I'll say what we're all thinking. She may not grip our heartstrings, but she can grip other things just fine.
I was thinking the exact same thing, but I was going to say, as Luke, I'd probably cast. What's that dude's name? He was in Frankenstein, and he's in Wuthering Heights. It's super tall dude.
Luka Doncic?
Danny DeVito?
Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Hold on. Danny DeVito as Luke would be the funniest.
He's also like super short, which is why Grayson, that super tall guy, Danny DeVito.
We're gonna make a deal.
Listen, I trained Hercules.
It'd actually be really funny if in the movie, like just one time that he appears to her, he is Danny DeVito, and he's like, "Oh God, sorry," and then like switches to the other form of like what she.
I honestly, if that's not in the film, I'm not watching it.
But I'd say Jacob Elordi as Luke, maybe even Oscar Isaac, but Jacob Elordi for sure, even though he's like way overcast right now. And then honestly, for Henry, I'd probably put David Cornsweet.
See, I think he's too old.
I don't. He's about my age, a little younger, to be honest with you.
Yeah, and Luke
So-
is immortal, so he can be
And
whatever.
see,
No,
See,
he said
for my-
Henry. Henry, he would.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Oh no, never mind. He is 32. I mean,
it's a little. I don't care about that much. But no, see, the reason why I don't pick. I'm gonna say this. I don't pick. I pick one actor for both Henry and Luke because they mention in the book that Henry looks like Luke without the shadow.
So we do like a Michael B. Jordan Sinners situation.
I'll say yes. I still have yet to see Sinners, so I apologize.
Not to derail things. I finally did see it. It's actually a very good movie.
Mhm.
I don't get all the hype because it's not like, oh my god, but especially for a vampire movie, very fresh take.
I'll have to watch it.
Yeah. Honestly, we'll get back to casting, but I just want to say this actually does remind me a lot of vampire stories, mainly because of the immortality aspect.
Mhm.
I mean, I know we already mentioned Twilight earlier, but even the stuff like Anne Rice's and things like that seeing the different ages and going through them and stuff very much reminded me of Interview with a Vampire and things like that. But yeah, as far as casting,
Keegan,
I
who
did
would
see
you-
one.
Keegan, who would
I
you
saw
pick?
one fan casting that I really liked. That
Who would I
told you
fan
about.
cast out of left field? Just like
What?
Who would you cast for all these before?
so as Luke, I would probably do Matt Bomer. I think he can definitely pull off that. For Henry, it's gonna sound weird, but Simu Liu, the guy that played Shang-Chi, I don't know why, but and then Lily Collins for Addie LaRue. So there's my weird left field casting right there.
So I've seen this on, like, a couple people have mentioned this when I was looking at movie stuff, and I actually fully support it. A lot of people apparently think that Daisy Edgar Jones should be Addie LaRue, and I 100% see it. You probably remember her most from Twisters.
I can see it. I can see it. What
Though
about
speaking of
what about-
Twisters, what's her name in it? That she's only in for a little bit, but Kierna Shipna, who played Sabrina. I could totally
What
see
a-
her doing it as well.
What about Bella Ramsey?
All right, well, that's all the time we have for tonight.
Sorry, I obviously
look at
don't.
me.
Hey Nick,
No, it's just
only-
it's funny to me because I see so many Facebook threads where people cast like they'll do like the ones I've been seeing lately are like the cast of Scooby Doo. It's like who would make a better like Freddie Prinze Jr. or Bella Ramsey? And I'm like, why are we doing this? And why?
I'm just surprised that was the actor you named, but you know.
Only because again I keep seeing the memes. It's like of Bella Ramsey cast as all these different things.
And he's only saying that because he already picked Mia Khalifa to be Luke. So
No.
I thought he
If you think that dog protest too much, Nick, just say you did it.
I don't like that person.
Brendan, do you have any choices of people?
I don't. I'm not really good at casting, so I don't even think about it. I do think it'll be a good movie. I do enjoy the idea of the story and like everything. So I do hope that will be a good movie. But no, I have no clue for casting.
Yeah, I agree. This will definitely make a good movie. And as we talked about too, I think they have to have the right amount of switching back and forth between modern day and the historical flashbacks in order for the movie to work.
Now, do you guys feel that a movie is the appropriate medium for this, or do you think it would have been better as a series?
Better as a
Series,
TV show.
Series.
hands down.
I think series just because it will be easier and they can do it better about the jumping back and forth.
Mhm.
But
I
do you think?
movie, it can be done wrong easier?
See, I don't know. I think if it's a decent length movie, like 2.5 hours, I think what's in this book could translate well to that time. I don't know if we really need like do you need a whole episode of her in Paris the first time? Like, do
Maybe
you
not. Maybe not a whole
need
episode of that, but like there are some shorter chapters, like the dinner between her and Luke, where he has all the servants like waiting on them
like
hand and
it?
foot.
It
That would
could be a
translate.
full
That could
episode,
translate. That could translate to a full episode, like a 30
but
minute, 45-minute episode.
but do you need a full episode, or could that be a 10-minute scene in a movie?
Yeah, I think when you get to a TV show, even though there's a lot in this, it's not like it where it was 1,000 pages, right? And they made that into 2 movies. I think this going into TV show, you start or getting into the waters where they start filling and putting a little too much, and it would drag. Like, I don't think we need to add stuff. Maybe you could even streamline it a little bit, and I think that's where the movie would come in the best.
I think if they can stay true to it, because they do need to do, I agree, the back and forth still, we need to have the flashbacks. But if you look at it honestly, the time in New York, the present day, like, framing story isn't really that long.
Mm-mm.
I mean, a lot of the first half of the book, it's literally within like a 48-hour time period, you know?
Right.
And then a couple of their months, their time together, because he's running out of time, so he doesn't even have that much time. So I honestly don't have an issue with a movie as long as they keep the majority of the book in it. And I do think the book is like, it's not the shortest book, but it's also, like Keegan said, it's not the longest. And a lot of that can be kind of shaved a little bit to still get the essential stuff in there and keep it fresh going back and forth. So I do have high hopes. I think it'd be fine as a streaming series. I think they could still do really well, but I think a movie might be the best choice for it. But that does lead us to our kind of last question I wanted to ask you guys about before we get to final numbers. Especially if this is successful, do you think there will be a sequel? Would you want there to be? And if there is, what direction would you want it to go in?
So yes, I think there will be one because I think it'll be successful. It has a big enough following I've seen as far as lots of people talking about it on Goodreads or Amazon or YouTube. So there's enough fans. I think it'll be successful. I think it'll get a sequel. I don't think it needs one. Like I want to. I like the open-endedness, and I think with a sequel, it runs the line of maybe being too repetitive of the first, and like I don't know. I want if that was me, but I think it will.
And if there is one, where would you want it to go? Even though you don't want a sequel, if it was gonna happen, and they're like, Keegan, which direction should we take it? Where would you want it to go?
UNC.
Addie LaRue falls in love with a Spinosaurus.
So it's gonna have to try to deal with breaking curses and maybe more along the line of what you were saying earlier of finding other gods and working that in to try to break the curse. But I don't know. I think working in some more mythology and lore and bringing in one or two other gods, I think would help it out a little bit.
Kind of like Grayson said, like the yin to the yang. Like what is Luke's opposite?
Yeah,
And getting that involved. Yeah.
bring in a little bit of Greek mythology where they're like warring and fighting each other and stuff like that. Maybe that's why they didn't answer her prayers or something. Like explain that portion of it.
Okay. What do you think, Grayson?
In all honesty, I feel a little bit similar to Keegan. It'll probably be successful. It'll be probably one of the better performing ones that we see, where they just drop it in like the winter months, and then everybody goes to see it, and everybody loves it. I don't think it needs a sequel. I think that it does need to be left on, the note that it was left on. It ended just fine, and it ended in a succinct way. It told Addie's story. If there was going to be a sequel to but I do think there is going to be a sequel, and the way I kind of want the sequel to go is, I would say it would be interesting to not necessarily pick back up with Addie. I would kind of want to see like a story where like everybody that just reads the book thinks that Addie is, just a made up character. That the person that wrote the story just had such a creative imagination that they, made it up. but I would want to see a story where like a fan of the book believes that Addie LaRue is real and tries to find who Addie LaRue is, and with that it builds up into more of like trying to where this person makes the deal with a god of their own to try to find Addie LaRue, and that could then I kind of do like the idea of trying to break the curse of Addie LaRue to let her live her life. I think that could play into that, but I would want to see something where like it kind of we get reintroduced to Addie LaRue, not necessarily picking back up from the end of the story, because I feel like that would be too much of a trying to rehash what already happened. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I love that, and I would want it from that character's perspective. I would love it to be somebody else, and it'd be like instead of like the invisible life of Addie LaRue, it'd be like the lifelong search for Addie LaRue or something like that. And it's somebody literally trying to find this, like have Addie LaRue and Henry have become like a huge thing. Like he goes to conventions and all this, and this is like a big fan, and like pieces together, especially once the Nina writes the papers about everything and the 7 freckles, and all the different things, like piecing it together. I think that'd be very, very interesting. And I agree. I don't want something a direct, like right after it. I'd rather it be something that's a decent amount of time away from it, and maybe even like, again, have Addie as like a secondary character, not the main character we're following to finish up the story.
See, like I would honestly kind of want it to be like where we don't get introduced to Addie LaRue until like after the first quarter of the book, and then it's like they just happen to stumble upon Addie LaRue because they finally figured out where she's at, and then we start getting like intermittent pieces of what happened between the publication of the book and Addie LaRue trying to like figure out a way to get out of the curse in a way. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Brendan, what do you think?
I think it will be successful just because of the amount of fans it has. Shortly after I started reading it, I kept seeing it on other like book talkers or Instagram. I keep seeing other people reading it or them picking it up as well at about the same time, and I thought that was kind of funny. I don't see a sequel. I almost think a sequel would be kind of a waste. I do think Grayson's creativity is maybe one way that they could go, but without her having a second book, I think, or if the author wasn't involved in the movie, then I don't think they'll do a second one.
Fair. And Nick?
Yeah, I think Grayson's idea is the only way I would accept a sequel. But I don't think this book needs a sequel. I think it needs very much like going off of the movie treatment. I think it very much needs an ending similar to that of like Stranger Than Fiction or Monsters Inc., where like Stranger Than Fiction.
Prequel.
Well, no, I mean like with Stranger Than Fiction, like it very much ends with the author writing Will Ferrell's like final scene in her book, and it just ends there. And then again with the like the after credits part of Monsters Inc., where he opens up the door and the little girl says "Kitty" just one last time, and then it goes black screen. Like that kind of like open-endedness for a movie, but also just the very clear ending of it. I think it could be successful. I don't know. I didn't get the whole. I saw it on other YouTubers and Instagram or anything. I haven't seen anybody else talk about this book other than me to other people. But I mean, I don't think it needs a sequel.
I would say it's more divisive than I thought on YouTube it would be, because it's pretty positive on Amazon and Goodreads. But there's some people that just straight up don't like this one at all. But I think they're also more into romance novels than we are, so that might also sway how they think.
All right. Well, personally, I do think that a wildly successful movie, which I think this will be, if it's done right, will be very successful. I think a lot of money will push for there to be a sequel, but the author has been very firm that she doesn't really want to do one, and that it's very much a standalone. And I think she'll stick to that because I don't believe she's hurting money wise. So I don't think it'll be enough to sway her that it has to be done. And I've actually done some investigating into this. And apparently, and this is how I think they would move forward movie wise and things like that, if it's something they chose to do. After this book came out, one of the next books that came out last year by V.E. Schwab is a book by the title Bury Our Bones in the Midnight Soil. And not only did the author reveal and let people know before it came out that this does take place in the same world as Addie LaRue, there is even a very brief mention / cameo of Addie herself in this book. Which is interesting because this book is about basically vampires. It's about 3 women that become like, let's see, in her words, she said that it is a queer book about toxic lesbian vampires. And it's 3 women born in 3 different generations and such that all become vampires at different ages and their interactions. And it's a very, dark romance kind of thing, and immortality, love, all that kind of things, but from a darker angle of it. So I personally believe if there is any kind of spiritual sequel, it'll be something like this, like things that take place maybe in the same world, and maybe even have 1 or 2 characters like mentioned on the side, something like that, without being a direct sequel to continuing Addie LaRue. So in a way, kind of like what Grayson was saying, where we're saying, have a different main character and Addie's more of a side character. I could potentially see something like that in a different story where she's kind of playing a part without it being about her, especially if they're trying to, capitalize movie-wise, if they want to have like the same casting and things like that. But yeah, I just thought that's interesting. I like when authors do stuff like that and weave them together without it being a direct sequel. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say it'd be interesting to see like a scene, like if they made a movie of that one, it'd be interesting to see like a scene from Addie LaRue played out in the background.
Yeah,
like her talking to like Luke or something like leave me alone or something like that, and you just it's just in the background.
Kind of what we mentioned before, like Keegan was also jumping on when we're talking about trying to find other gods or things like that. I think the fact that now it is confirmed that there are other supernatural things, vampires and things like that in this world, there's clearly a depth to magic, supernatural, whatever, something happening in that universe. So I think it'd be very interesting if she chooses in the future to kind of play around with that more and keep things going, and possibly eventually circle around to having Addie more involved in part of it again. But all right, I guess we are winding up now, but we can't leave without doing our final thoughts and final scores on this book. So Brendan, we're going to let you kick it off and give us your overall thought.
For it being a romance and not really my genre of type of book, I did really enjoy how it was portrayed, and I do like the idea of what the story was. I would say 7 out of 10, just because it's not really my cup of tea, and I usually do like a little faster paced books. But I did enjoy it, and I would recommend it to other people.
Awesome. Keegan?
So overall, I really enjoyed it. I think as far as the writing style was really nice. Like you guys were saying, it was kind of like poetic at times, but it was also more of a slow burn type of story where it let things develop and wasn't just like bang, bang, bang. At times was I able to be like, oh, that's where this is going to go. Yes, but that's a lot of things. I think a solid 8 out of 10. It's a romance, kind of like Brendan said, not my go-to genre, but there's enough supernatural stuff and like paranormal, and I like especially the scene with like the speakeasy was really cool. I'd like to see more of that, but yeah, 8 out of 10, I'd recommend it.
All right, Grayson?
Ooh, boy. I'm going to say I enjoyed the book. It was fine for what it was. I feel overall the story was good. It was cohesive. It wasn't a bad story by any means. I enjoy a good romance story every now and again. I will say the history stuff was cool, especially seeing like some of the deals that Luke made with some figures in history, especially like the scene where one that sticks with me is where he, took Beethoven's soul at the height of his, career. Very impactful. Definitely was, the imagery of what he looked like, very impactful. Um, Overall, though, I feel like while I did enjoy the story for the most part, it was a little. The ideas were interesting. It just was not enough for me to really feel like super invested in the story in and of itself. It was still good, but it was just not something about it. Just did not suck or bring me all the way into the story. So I'm going to honestly give it 6.5, 7 out of 10. It wasn't the worst. It was still pretty good. I'd recommend it, but just not one of my all-time favorites. But it was still something worth checking out, and it was enjoyable.
Yeah. And Nick?
I'm gonna give this the highest score so far. For me, this is a solid 9 out of 10. Right, like I said, the moment I picked it up and I read it every single day, it was one of the books that I've been excited to come back to, and it's a book I can see myself actually coming back to on my own time down the road sometime, like going back to reread it. And I actually have in my Barnes and Noble, because I like to collect different covers of different books sometimes.
Like the
I have
different editions and stuff.
I have a different edition of this book already in my Barnes and Noble cart, because it has a different cover.
Nice.
And all that. So it is one I gave it a 9 out of 10. The only things I didn't like were the ending, and some of the pacing kind of threw me off. Like, I completely forgot about the Beethoven soul until Grayson mentioned it just now.
Or
But there
Sinatra.
or Sinatra. There are some historical figures, and the pacing did feel kind of sluggish at sometimes. But again, it was one of the books that I felt very excited to come back to every single day. So it's solid 9 out of 10. Highly recommend.
Awesome. Well, going last, I did recommend this book. A lot of that was a little more, I just felt like with February and such, like a romance seemed very fitting. And this is one of the more recent ones that I had read. And I did like the kind of supernatural / paranormal aspect of things, making it more than just your standard boy meets girl kind of situation. So I really enjoyed that. And I very much like the different philosophical questions that it kind of poses that you can kind of come up with on your own. And much like you guys mentioned, looking back through history, thinking of, oh, this happened because they made a deal with the devil or whatever is kind of a cool way to look at it, as well as, how things have changed. Like Keegan mentioned how drastically things have changed since when Addie was born to now. This girl went through people not being able to get to the next town over without using a horse, all the way to, hey, we have people in space now. So very, very drastically different. So I did like that aspect a lot. But that being said, I do absolutely agree. Pacing was a little slow. Another reason why I do think a movie will be fine. I don't think we need to milk things out, stretch it out to a series. I think a movie will be fine to capture the essence of this story. And personally, I do like Addie herself. I do still think Luke is the most interesting character in the entire story. And I don't like Henry all that much. He was just kind of there. He didn't have a lot of agency the way that I would necessarily want. There wasn't a lot of witty banter between them. There wasn't a lot of equal status in challenges and things like that. Again, that's kind of what led me to thinking about are they really in love, like because they're perfect together, or is it because circumstances threw them together? And that doesn't lessen their story at all. I think there's still genuine emotion, so I'm fine with that. He just was not the most exciting character. Like, I probably would not pick up a book that was all about Henry. If it was just his story after this, like, I don't care that much. So for that, that does keep it away from a perfect book for me. However, again, I cannot say enough about her writing style. I very much appreciate it. I think it flows very well. She does a great job of building scenes, and everything felt realistic. The conversations did feel genuine, like people actually talking, and it wasn't a lot of, okay, let's do these sentences to get to this dialogue. It flowed well. It seemed like an actual scene happening. So mad props to her for that. And honestly, reading it this second time along with you guys, I picked up several things that I did not the first time I read it through. like Nick said, revisiting it was definitely worth it. There was new things I got from it and different thoughts on things after having known how it finishes. Going back to those kind of earlier days of her, it's like, oh, like things kind of fall together a little bit more. So I think that's pretty cool. And for those reasons, I think I'm going to go with about an 8.5. Very solid read. And for anybody who's never read it and has any interest in history, paranormal, or romance, I would say definitely worth your time to pick up. Well, fantastic. I think that kind of puts to bed The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. We'll definitely keep you updated whenever new movie news comes out, much like we'll be doing with Project Hail Mary in just a couple of months. But before we go, we do have one last piece of business, and that is to allow our newest member to the society to make his very first book choice. So, Brendan, I will turn it over to you. What is going to be the book that we're going to be discussing in March?
It's actually going to be I think it's more of a short story, but I really wanted to do The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Oh, such a good choice.
With
choice.
with Project Hail Mary coming out, I do think it would be a good comedic, sci-fi to go into leading up to
Space Month.
Stuff, so, yeah. So, and I recently picked up the novel that has all 5 of the.
That's what I have, the omnibus.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I'm going to read all of it, but I think not forcing all of us to read a 100-page book.
I've gladly read all of them several times. It's one of my favorite sci-fis. So very good choice. All right. So don't panic, anybody. We are going to be doing The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Don't forget your towel.
Don't forget what?
Your towel.
That's right. Got to have your towel. Always got to know where your towel is. So if you're interested in seeing some more of the books that we've already covered, we have an entire year in the can now, back in 2025 when we started last January. You can check those out. All of those are going to be on the channel, as well as a plethora of other videos from our lovely friend, Mr. Keegan Cool at Cool's Paranormal Studios. We got some dinosaur stuff, some dead outlaw stuff, and he is a very strong proponent that Billy the Kid did not die the way you think. He escaped to Texas and took on a new identity. If you want to learn more about that, go check out his channel. Over on Abnormal Voyages, you can check out me and some of my travels. Haven't had anything up there recently, but who knows? There might be some new stuff coming out soon. Nick, any update on getting home?
No, still nothing yet.
All right. So if anybody wants to help Nick,
I have a map with an X on it somewhere, and I just need to find out where that X leads to.
There you go. Well, until Nick gets home, we will continue to be his compass and his support system to get in there. Brendan, anything you would like to share about anything going on besides Hitchhikers coming out?
No, I don't think so.
All right, no worries. And then Grayson, I know you're still brewing on some Cinegray stuff, correct?
I would say that's been a little bit on the back burner, but yeah, we'll probably start getting into some stuff here soon.
Hey, no worries. And anybody out there, if you just want to throw up a collective summoning spell, we may just see Nolan before this year ends. But as always, thank you to everybody in the society for being here with me this evening, and thank all of you for watching. Make sure you grab your copy of Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Join our Discord. We can discuss all the books that we've had, and you can even maybe suggest one of your own. But until next time, we'll see you later.